Hello, Barendipitous here with my TTRPG shelf. I said in the last TTRPG shelf video, that we had reached the end of my Dungeons and Dragons shelf, which was true for 5th edition. This is truly the end of that shelf, with the last couple of sort of more random Dungeons and Dragons things. So this is stuff from the 4th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. Obviously the edition before 5th edition. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition. I've never played it. I've never run it. I've never played any other edition of Dungeons and Dragons except 5th edition. And so why do I have these? Well, basically, my parents found three Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition boxes, like 3 boxes full of stuff at a thrift store, and they were just kind of like, hey, they just kind of gave them to me, I think, for a Christmas or birthday gift or something. Like, hey, you like Dungeons and Dragons, right? That's your thing. And I'm like, cool, yeah. I mean, this looks neat. I recognized it as a previous edition, so. Yeah, like I said, there were 3 boxes. I consolidated all the stuff into 2 boxes. First of all, I wanted to show that I have another Dungeon Master screen. I guess in this case, a Game Master screen. Another quad fold, basically, but it's just kind of clear. It's like a hard plastic one. It has Dungeons and Dragons like information, but it's kind of more of a generic. It's not an official like Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. But I do like the design. The design is pretty cool. I don't use it very much. It's a bit high. I like it when DM screens are lower, so when I'm sitting down, I'm able to like see above the screen essentially. Um, I don't have to sort of like reach very far over the screen. But yeah, so these two boxes, one of them is called the Dungeon Master's Kit, which is this one, and then this one is called the Monster Vault, and then there's a third box that was the name of some kind of 4th edition adventure. We'll start with the Monster Vault here. I think it's aptly named because it's basically all of this nonsense. These are a bunch of tokens. So I Even though I've never played 4th edition, I'm aware of the basic ideas behind 4th edition. I'm aware of kind of like mostly how it's kind of played. I don't know the rules, but I'm aware of how it's played, and it's much more tactical, I should say. That's why, like, having like sort of chips or tokens like this was very helpful, maybe almost essential to the game, because there was a lot of yeah, it was a lot more tactical. You kind of needed more of a grid map and everything. And so these tokens here, uh, you can see them in different sizes. These sizes here represent, I believe, medium-sized creatures. So in Dungeons and Dragons, even in 5th edition, but I think also in 4th edition, there are like different sizes of creatures. There's like tiny, small, medium, large, huge, and gargantuan, something like that. And so medium would be a creature that would take up a 5 foot square space, which would be like, a normal humanoid or something like that, right? And that's what these are. These are like most grid maps that you'll find will basically allow you to fit one of these onto a square. So there's that. And then you have a large token where a large basically fits into 4 squares. So you can kind of see kind of how that works. Like, yeah, 4 squares fits onto one of these. By the way, most of these are the same creature for the backwards, front and back, but I believe 4th edition had this rule about like being bloodied. Like if a creature is bloodied, that means it's at half health or lower. And so I think the idea, people who know 4th edition can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically like you'd have this be the normal side, and then once the creature reaches half health, you flip it over. There were also some of these that had like multiple parts to it. You can see how there's a large creature here, but then there's also this sort of this ring. I can pop this out if I wanted to. I don't want to. But basically, place a large creature token inside this ring to create a huge creature token. Okay, yeah. So huge is is this size, which is basically 9. It's a like 3 squares by 3 squares, and gargantuan would be 4 square, like 4 by 4. But I don't think there are any gargantuan tokens in here. But yeah, these tokens were organized at one point. They were like in bags and stuff. But I decided, you know what, I don't know. I'm just gonna just kind of have them lying around in here. I never really use these, unfortunately. I haven't found a lot of reason to like use these tokens very much. But I mean, I do like having them because you never know when you might find use for like having a frost giant token or something, or there are a bunch of dragons and there's goblins and just all kinds of things in this. And also, you may have noticed there's also this book here. Yeah, this is a book this is the Monster Vault book, basically a monster manual. You can see that it just has all the stat blocks for the various monsters inside the Monster Vault, with their respective tokens and images and stuff like that. So, yeah. I will say, as far as fourth edition goes, again with the little that I know about it, I like the artwork of fifth edition more than fourth edition. I'll be honest. I have to put the book back now. Here, let me do this. Just gonna dump all the tokens in this box so that I can put the book in this box, and then dump all the tokens back in the other one. There we go. Okay. But yeah, it's you never know when something like this might be useful. And I've spilled a bunch on the floor. Cool, great. Maybe that's why I don't use these that much. It's just a big mess, and I haven't found a good way to like organize them. But it's cool to have a vault of monsters, right? And I do have a small collection of miniatures, which will be its own video, like at 3D miniatures. That can be its own video. But yeah, so the Monster Vault, there's that. And here we have the Dungeon Master's Kit. And I have consolidated a couple different things in here. There was a third box or a third like folder or something like that, and it had something for yeah. So I'll get to the Dungeon Master's book in a moment, but it had a bunch of like tiles and booklets for a particular adventure. Yeah, Madness at Gardmore Abbey. And also just like some of these other like adventure books. These are basically published adventures in these like smaller booklets, and I have not really looked at them at all. I guess there's different like chapters of these adventures, and also there's tokens specifically for this adventure as well. Like these are the monsters that you would use in it, and then there's some like terrain tiles. But it's probably missing some things because there's no maybe the adventures probably came with like a map that you would lay out, and then you put these on top of the map. So there's that. I don't really know. But then there is one thing that's what this is for. There is one thing that I do use from that adventure, and that is these cards. Okay, this is my own kind of like velvet cloth bag here. But first of all, there are these treasure cards. They basically represent a magic item. We have a what is it? We got a torque of justice and Moonbane, the sword. So these are kind of I do love the concept of kind of like if your players pick up a piece of treasure, you can just hand the card to them and they have all the information. I keep dropping things. They have all the information about that item there. I think that's pretty cool. But here's the real thing that I actually have used sometimes. This is a physical deck of many things that came with this pack of adventures here. The deck of many things is rather infamous in D&D history in general. As a matter of fact, as of the recording of this video, I believe Wizards of the Coast recently released some kind of like book supplement, a new like deck of many things kind of adventure, and like an updated version of it. But essentially, the deck of many things is a magical like tarot style deck, where the idea is that if you draw a card from it, then and you get the each basically you get a something happens to you. It could be good or bad. Some of these cards are very good. For example, the gem card. I think I can't remember all of it. In the there's like a list in the Dungeon Master's Guide in fifth edition, and probably in here as well in fourth edition. Each card has a different effect. Some are very good. Like the gems, I think it gives you like money or gives you like a bonus experience points. Um, and stuff like that. But some of them are very bad. Some infamous ones. So dungeon. Basically, if you draw this card, then if your character draws this card, then they are trapped in an extra dimensional space, and you're basically just kind of like locked away in a place that you can't really be found. Um, Other things like um, yeah, ruin. You basically like lose a fortune essentially. The moon card, I believe, gives you some wishes, like one, two, or three wishes. I know, yeah. There's like a skull or a death card where you have to fight the avatar of death or something like that. There's all kinds of things in here, and so the deck of many things is just kind of infamous for being sometimes it's kind of infamous for being a kind of like a campaign breaking item. And there are times when I use this just because I had it, which is not the best reason to use it. It basically like this is the kind of thing where like if you and the players are fine with it and you all think it would be fun, then go for it. But this is definitely not the kind of thing you want to spring on your players without any without knowing whether or not they would actually appreciate it. But I'm happy to have a like physical manifestation of this, and so I figured that a good way to sort of like I figured it'd be fun to have like a cloth bag to keep it in, and I just had this old like I think this plastic container was some kind of like Tic Tac container or something, but it fits. It's perfect. It's basically perfect for this right here. So that's where I keep my deck of many things. I don't have a fancy like wooden box or something like that. That's for my dice. Uh, but there you go. There's that. And then yeah, we just have this Dungeon Master's book, which is really just like the Dungeon Master's Guide in fifth edition. I see like a bunch of stuff like lore and running the game and things like that. I haven't really looked at this very much either. Like most of this fourth edition stuff, I haven't really paid very much attention to, mainly because again, I don't really play. I've never played fourth edition. I don't really have any plans to play fourth edition D&D because goodness knows I have enough stuff to do in fifth edition. But these are just kind of like nice to. I appreciate the thought. My parents didn't really know that this is an older edition, but I'm still grateful they gave this stuff to me. Like it's cool to have. These are like cool pieces of D&D history, and sometimes they can be helpful. Like the deck of many things, and Monster Vault and things like that. So anyway, yeah, that's it for this video. And now, truly, that as far as D&D books go. That should be all of them. Pretty much the rest of the physical TTRPG books that I have are for other games that are not Dungeons and Dragons. But I also do have a lot of accessories, like tabletop role playing game accessories. I'll make videos about those. But yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, all the best.